Hey, everybody. Welcome into another episode of Mortgage Minutes. Today, what we want to cover, we did bring in an expert here when it comes to homeowners insurance. Okay, so like I said, this entire program for us is supposed to be educational for you guys to understand all the little caveats that go into getting a home loan. Again, this is Will Reno with Fairway Independent Mortgage. And without further ado, do want to introduce my good friend from Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance, Travis Wottring. Travis, how are you this morning, man?
I'm good, Will. Thanks for having me on. It's Monday morning, a little chilly outside. I think Indiana skipped fall and went straight to winter.
Don't we always, right? We got a whopping like 48 hours of fall. So anyways, Travis, like I said, we always like to keep this conversational and kind of get people to get behind the curtain of the industries that we work in, because most of the time people aren't talking to guys like us unless it's a big life decision, and you know, there's a lot of fluff out there. So what we like to do is
Right.
kind of break down just the basics of it and make this understandable, especially for those first timers that we're working with more and more. So Travis, if you would just tell us a little bit about yourself, what got you in the insurance industry, how long you've been doing it, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as Will said earlier, I work for Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance. I'm coming up on my third year. So, February of 2019, I'll be 3 years on the dot. Insurance has been around me my entire life. What I mean by that is my dad and brother both work for the same company, both in the same industry. My dad is on his 30th year, and I'm on my sixth year. So, it's been around me for longer than I've been alive.
Very good. So, what excites you about the insurance industry? What made you want to become an agent?
It's two things come to mind. It's everyday client interaction. That's number one. I'll go further detail in that shortly. And number two is, as bad as this might sound at first, I can explain it. It's the flexibility. What I mean by the client interaction is I'm a huge extrovert, as you know me personally. I'm loud. I like to talk, and I talk a lot. And so, although I do a lot of office work, I'm also dealing with clients every day, and we could be meeting at their house, at their place of business, at Starbucks. So it gets me out of the office. I'm not just stuck in these four walls all day. I get to see the world as well. What I meant by the flexibility is the first thing that always comes to mind is growing up. I do have siblings, and we played sports growing up. And my dad was always the head coach of every single one of our sports teams. And so I know with the insurance industry, you're getting the job done, but you're also flexible to go out and you still have a family life, you still have a friend life. And like I said, he was the coach of all of our sports teams, so he was always around. When I met the people that he worked with, they were all phenomenal people. And growing up, I said I want to be in that kind of environment.
Awesome. That's a great answer, and something that obviously you and I have a friendship, but the bigger thing about being a younger professional in the industries that we're in is that we both want to focus on that work-life balance that always gets brought up, but more in detail in there. It's being able to be around your family and be involved with your family. You know, having that flexibility there to say, hey, you know what, as opposed to just, you need to come to my office now. We are flexible enough to say, hey, if you're comfortable with us stopping by your house and, you know, having a cup of coffee and just having a conversation, that is something that people really don't understand, that we now have the technology and the ability to go and do those things. So that's one thing that I do love about our industries as they continue to transition into more of a tech-based, but people still want that face-to-face interaction, and I know that you are big on that as well. So very, very cool answer, and obviously you're family-centric, which is great for people to know when they are choosing insurance. So kind of moving into our next question here, Travis. I work with a lot of first-time buyers. Okay, a lot of people have no idea going into the purchase transaction, all the stuff that goes on with us. You know, because moving, just thinking, oh, I'm just going to buy a house. I only have to put down X amount of money, and then magically we close, right? And a lot of times what we're running into is people don't understand the mortgage payment itself and everything that entails. Specifically, what a part of that obviously is homeowners insurance. So we as a lender, we're not going to give you a lump sum of money to move into a house, say, hey, can you pay it back, and then not have insurance in case something happens. So kind of tell us a little bit about why we as a lender require homeowners insurance and what you do as an agent when you are writing a homeowners insurance policy.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll first start off by saying things do happen. Things happen all the time. The basic answer, as basic I can get it, is homeowners insurance. It provides you with the financial protection in the event of a disaster. I mean, that's what it does. So some of those disasters involving your home, it could be fires, smoke, lightning, hail, theft, explosion, right? I mean, almost is the key word. Almost anything you can think of. Why I do say the word almost is there's some things that don't automatically come on a homeowner policy that you have to endorse. Flood insurance, volcano insurance, earthquake insurance. Can you have coverage with that? Absolutely. You just have to endorse those. But the first ones usually automatically come on a homeowner policy. So what I like to do when Will does like to send me some business, and we do work with each other a lot, I like to have a conversation with them. And if I can get in front of them, going back to that last answer, if I can get in front of them face to face, that's how I always want to do it. That's the way I was brought up. That's the way I like to do it, because I like to have that relationship. I like to show value instead of just talking over the phone and trying to get the cheapest number. Price is very important to me, but there's things that go in front of that. So what we do is we take all the information, your personal information, and then we get home information. So the square footage of the house, the type of house, the location of the house, how many bedrooms, how many baths, the basement, is it finished? There's so many variations that go into the home quote. You guys, though, don't have to worry about any of that. I can find a lot of that online, but I still like to have those questions just to make sure. Believe it or not, Google's not always correct. So I like to get those answers from the client to make sure everything is correct. And that is the reason for the homeowner insurance, though. Just it's the financial protection in the event of any disaster you can think of.
Very good. So kind of moving into that, and what I talk to a lot of our first timers, or even people that don't quite understand the mortgage payment that they're paying on now, is that your homeowner's insurance policy is actually a part of your mortgage payment that you're paying to your servicer. So obviously there's some moving parts there, and if your loan's with another servicer or something like that, when you're just paying into that escrow account that we've discussed in previous videos, how do you, as an insurance agent, Travis, how are you monitoring how those clients' payments are getting into the door to, let's say it's an Indiana Farm Bureau? How are you able to monitor their payments every month to make sure that their policy is up to date?
This one's actually really, really simple, because I personally don't have to do a lot on this one. It kind of just happens. So if your home is escrowed, which I would say 9 times out of 10, your home is usually escrowed. You pay the mortgage company, and then they send it to us. And by them doing that, we're kind of on the same team here. If we're not receiving that payment, we're going to contact the mortgage company. If the mortgage company is trying to send it to us, we haven't responded, they're going to contact us. So it's kind of all behind doors on that side. So the client really doesn't have to worry about a lot there. The only time they would have to, if we're in the second, third year, and for some reason that escrow account is empty, we're going to get a note saying they need money, or you guys are going to get a note saying they need money, and then we're going to come contact the client. But a lot of times on the back end, they don't have to worry about it. The insurance company and the mortgage companies work together, and we kind of just send money back and forth.
Very good. And that is something that we do like to discuss, especially in our face-to-faces or in our pre-qualifications and those sorts of things, is saying, hey, if we set these escrow accounts up properly, 9 times out of 10, we're never going to have any issues with it, right? And if we do ever, you and I are both guys like us, we're just going to get on the horn and say, hey, what is going on here?
Right.
Just to make sure that people are protected and they understand, hey, as long as you're being responsible, making your monthly mortgage payments on time, we as the professionals can help handle all of that stuff on the back end. So kind of transitioning from that kind of service mindset, one thing I love that you guys do at Indiana Farm Bureau is that you do annual reviews with all your clients. That's something that I have started to implement with my clients with mortgage reviews, but you guys really do understand that a lot of life goes on over the course of a year or two, or even, the course of just owning that first home. So what kind of topics are you covering when you do those insurance reviews? What kind of areas are you covering, and what kind of policies are you updating, that kind of stuff?
Not to sound cliche, but it's kind of like one of our commercial mottos is it's life changes, and it does. I mean, one year you're in college, next year you're renting your first apartment, the next year you buy your first home, the next year you're married, the next year you have a kid. And things change every single year, whether whether it's a big change or a small thing. Life changes, and so that's why, like what you said, we do those annual reviews. We call them care reviews. They stand for client account review evaluation. I truly, in a perfect world, would love to have one with every single client once a year. Does it always happen? No, because I know we get busy and sometimes clients don't want to deal with insurance agents. But in the perfect world, I like to have one of those with every single client. What I like to start with, if I've never met the client before, I like to start with what's called a gray sheet. What that means is it's not a blank piece of paper. It's auto there. It's like name, driver's license number, address, birthday, all that kind of stuff. And I like to meet the client. I want to learn more about them before we even talk about insurance. I want to learn about their family, their kids, their dependents. I want to know where they work, how long they've been working there for. A lot of times, some clients think that, hey, that's not important to you. Let's just talk about insurance. It is important to me because there's more than just the home and auto side when it comes to insurance protecting those personal or those physical risks. So it starts with that, and then we'll go into their policies they have with us. So whether it's their home, their autos, we'll review it. Their declaration sheets. So you have their liability. They have what they use the auto for every day, the VIN number, the make year model. On the home side, we'll go through it. Hey, here's your square footage. Here's the coverage A, what the home is insured for. Coverage B, their personal or their contents. I'm sorry, coverage B is the stuff outside their home. So if they have like sheds, pole barns, if they have fences. Coverage C is their personal property, everything they own. Coverage D, loss of use. If they're not able to live in their home, we put them somewhere else while their home is being fixed. So we go through their entire declaration sheets, medical payments and liabilities, and we just have a conversation about it. And then if they don't have, for example, water endorsement, if I figure out if they have a basement, talk to them about the positive or if they need a water backup plan or if they don't need a water backup plan. Stuff like that. And then we'll switch over to the autos, kind of like we talked about earlier. I always bring up a personal umbrella policy, whether they have a home, family, kids, or not. I think those are very important. I like to figure out where their other stuff is. They don't have it through us. So we'll talk about, like I said, what they do for a living. Maybe they own a business, or if they're farmers, we insure both of those. We do life insurance. So we just have a whole big conversation of everything, to be honest with you. Whether they have it or not, I always bring up everything else just to make sure it's A, covered through somebody else, or maybe they don't have the insurance on something that they actually need it for.
Very good. So you guys are obviously an all-encompassing type of insurance agency, right? You're not just kind of pawning this off to a warehouse. You guys are actually handling the policies, and you want to be up close and personal with these clients and make sure that they are protected. So kind of wrapping this up, Travis, obviously more and more people are finding convenience when it comes to online shopping. There is a dramatic shift of how kind of our businesses are running just in general, right? And the easiest thing that people like to do is, they want to shop for the quickest, cheapest option. And it's really, really easy in this era of, just push a button and you can get what you want, or you can get the cheapest thing. One thing I always like to really remind people of what kind of value is that bringing. So what kind of advice would you give those first timers that we have out there when it comes to just shopping, even if they're not going with you? What kind of advice would you give them when they are looking for a homeowner's insurance policy?
My quick advice would be don't do that. Stay off the internet when it comes to whether it's doing a mortgage or if it's doing insurance. You pay for what you get. Do I always have the cheapest insurance premiums? Unfortunately, no. I can admit that in front of everybody. I don't always have it, although I want it. My two biggest things are relationship and value. That will come into play 9 times out of 10. Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance we're a one state operation. What I mean by that is everything is done in Indiana. So the agents, the claims adjusters, the underwriters, we're all here in Indiana. If you're, God forbid, you get into a car accident or your home does have that fire, you don't have to call a 1-800 number. You don't have to call a claims adjuster out in California on the West Coast. You're going to call my cell phone, my personal cell phone that's with me at all times. You're going to call that, and we are going to take care of it together. I'm going to turn in the claim for you or give you the claims number to call. but the claims adjuster actually is right across the hall right there. You're gonna be dealing with her, or another one with the county over, but it's somebody that you're with the entire time. And I think that's really important. When I call a customer service hotline, and I won't say any names, but there's nothing worse than press one, press zero, press one. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. I just want to talk to a representative, and so that's what I mean by the relationship value. And I have so many clients that text me. My cell phone is on, or my cell phone number is on my business card. We do so many texting conversation, and it's something that's really important to me because you can get an answer just like that. And then value, kind of what I talked about earlier. It's bringing, I don't want to say ideas, but the importance of certain limits and liability limits on your home or on your auto. For example, we'll talk about the home liability real quick. I would say 9 times out of 10, if you shop online for your home insurance, your liability is going to be 100,000 or 300,000. If to bump that up to the max of $1 million is usually a $6 extra for the entire year to do that, and that's something that you don't learn online because you see the 300,000, you see the price, boom, I'm happy with it. The liability though is very important to me, and especially for the price for an extra $6 a month, something like that is where I bring in value and explain the importance of the liability limits on a homeowner's policy. Shopping online is convenient. I'm a millennial. Will, I think you're a millennial. We like to get things done very quick, but I've been working with you now for, I'd say, almost a year, and you've been working with me for almost a year. We're pretty quick, I would say. I know that you can't just Google and get the answer, but when you call me for a home quote, I have the quote done that day, or when I call you for a mortgage, you call the client that day. So we might be 10, 15 extra minutes than the online quote, but I promise the relationship and value, having our cell phone number, it really is important, especially at the time of a loss, because unfortunately, we're not indestructible. Things do happen, and we do get into accidents.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the biggest things that I've found is that there is the quick answer, and the quick answer isn't always the right answer.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I know that you and I both value is that speed to respond. It's one of our core values here at Fairway. But the biggest thing when it comes to value is look, we're not going to know everything. Our industries are this big with a bunch of different caveats, a bunch of different moving parts. But the biggest thing is understanding that, hey, we might not have all the answers, but we do have the tools to find the right answers out and find a better solution for the problem. And that's something that we've always tried to bring to the table. And that's why companies like Farm Bureau and obviously like us here at Fairway, that we continue to see success because we genuinely want the best for our clients and making sure that they're educated through the process. So Travis, obviously, wanted to just thank you for coming on today. Really, really good information, and probably stuff that people had no idea where to even start when it comes to homeowners insurance and that whole process. So we appreciate your time, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it so much. Like I've said, I've been working with Fairway for a long time. I love you guys as well. Thanks for having me on. It was really fun. That's all I got. That's all you got. You have any other questions or?
That's it, man. And of course,
Awesome.
We're going to leave Travis's contact information here in the video below. In the case that you guys want to take a look at the services that he can offer you, even if you just want him to buy a cup of coffee, I'm sure he'd do that too. So
I'll even throw in lunch.
Hey, there you go. There you go. So, all right, guys, thanks for tuning in, and we will be in touch soon. Take care, guys. Thanks.
Thank you. Cheers.